The massive holographic screen flickered in the United Nations Assembly Hall. 2,000 representatives from Earth's nations sat in tense silence as the alien transmission began. The image that appeared showed High Counselor Reed of the Galactic Council, his tall, silver-skinned form towering over his ornate desk. Ambassador James Walker stood at the central podium, his weathered face betraying no emotion. He had dealt with the Council for 5 years now, but something about today felt different. The usual diplomatic pleasantries were missing from Reed's expression. "People of Earth," Reed's voice boomed through the hall, each word precisely measured. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision regarding your world's status in our community." He paused, his large eyes scanning the crowd. "As a young spacefaring species, you require protection." Walker's hand tightened on the podium. He knew what was coming. The Council has determined that Earth must contribute its fair share to maintain this protection. Reed continued, "We require a monthly payment of 10,000 tons of rare Earth elements, 5,000 tons of antimatter, and 1,000 tons of crystallized quantum particles." Gasps echoed through the assembly hall. The demands were impossible. Earth's total annual production of antimatter was barely 100 tons. The quantum particles they asked for were worth more than Earth's entire yearly economic output. Reed's lip curled slightly. "You have 30 Earth days to begin delivery. Failure to comply will result in your immediate removal from all established trade routes. Your ships will be banned from Council space. Your colonies will be isolated." His smile widened. "Choose wisely." The transmission cut off, leaving the hall in darkness. Chaos erupted as representatives jumped to their feet, shouting and arguing. Walker remained still, a slight smile forming on his face. Ambassador Walker, a council member from India, stood up. "This is impossible. They're not asking for protection money. They're trying to bankrupt us." Walker raised his hand, and surprisingly, the hall fell quiet. They had learned to trust his judgment over the years. "I would like to remind everyone of Protocol 17, he said calmly. Confusion spread across many faces, but the military representatives sat up straighter. Protocol 17 was the reason Walker had fought so hard to delay Earth's admission to the Galactic Council for the past 2 years. "Director Thompson," Walker called out, "please share the relevant information." Anna Thompson stood up from her seat in the technology section. She was a plain-looking woman in her 50s, but her eyes sparkled with intelligence. "5 years ago, when we first contacted the Council, we discovered they had a history of doing this to young spacefaring races. They wait until a species is dependent on galactic trade, then squeeze them for resources." She tapped her tablet, and new images appeared on the main screen. "We've spent these 5 years preparing. While the Council thought we were struggling to meet their membership requirements, we were actually developing this." The screen showed a massive facility hidden inside Earth's moon. "The quantum tunneling array," she explained. "It can extract resources from spaces between dimensions. We can produce in 1 day what they're demanding for a month." She smiled. "We also have 5 more arrays hidden throughout the solar system." The hall burst into excited whispers. Walker nodded, pleased. "The Council thinks we're like all the other young races they've extorted. They don't know that we spent these years building up our strengths instead of rushing to join their corrupt system." He turned to face the assembly. "I propose we respond to their ultimatum with a counteroffer, one that will shake the very foundation of their power." His eyes gleamed with determination. "They tried to extort humanity, but they're about to learn why that was a terrible mistake." The assembly hall erupted in applause. As Walker looked out at the cheering crowd, he knew Phase 1 of Protocol 17 had begun exactly as planned. The Council had just started a game they didn't even know they were playing, and humanity held all the cards. Earth was ready. The real question was the galaxy ready for what humanity was about to unleash? High Counselor Reed sat in his private chamber aboard the Council's massive space station, watching recordings of Earth's assembly meeting. His long fingers drummed against his metallic desk as he studied Ambassador Walker's calm face. "Computer," Analyze Walker's expression during the ultimatum, Reed commanded. Analysis complete, the AI responded. Subject shows signs of suppressed amusement rather than fear. Reed frowned. This wasn't the reaction he had expected. Every other young species had panicked when faced with these demands. Something was wrong. Meanwhile, deep inside Earth's moon, Director Anna Thompson walked through the sprawling quantum tunneling facility. The massive chamber hummed with energy as hundreds of crystalline structures pulsed with blue light. Each crystal could tear holes in space-time, extracting resources from parallel dimensions. Status report. She called out to her chief engineer, Tom Baker, who was checking readings at the main control panel. All systems running at 300% capacity, Director, he replied, grinning. We've already extracted more antimatter today than the Council thinks we make in a year. Thompson smiled, remembering how they'd hidden this project. Every time Council inspectors visited Earth, they showed them the small public antimatter facility in Antarctica. The inspectors never thought to check the moon, assuming humans couldn't possibly build anything significant there yet. Back at the Council station, Reed called an emergency meeting. The other Council members appeared as holograms around his desk, each representing one of the galaxy's oldest species. Earth's response deadline is in 20 hours, Reed announced. Our analysts predict a 99% chance they'll submit to our demands. Their economy can't survive isolation. Councillor Drake, a blue-skinned being, leaned forward. Are we certain about their production capabilities? Absolutely, Reed replied. Our spies have monitored every major facility on Earth. They're barely managing their current production levels. At that exact moment, in a hidden chamber beneath the United Nations building, Ambassador Walker met with Earth's Defense Council. The room's walls displayed real-time data from the Moon facility and 4 other secret installations across the solar system. The Council's deadline was the best thing that could have happened, Walker explained to the gathered leaders. They forced our hand exactly when we were ready to play it. General Roberts, head of Earth's combined military forces, nodded in agreement. 5 years of hiding our true capabilities, making them think we were struggling to meet basic technological benchmarks. He chuckled. Meanwhile, we've built enough quantum tunneling arrays to outproduce half the Council worlds combined. What about defense? Asked one of the leaders. The Council has a massive fleet. Walker pressed a button, and new images appeared on the screens. They showed thousands of sleek ships hidden in asteroid belts throughout the solar system. We didn't just build mining facilities, he said. Every quantum tunneling array has a full defense fleet attached to it. The Council thinks our biggest ships are those little transport vessels we let them see. Back in lunar orbit, Director Thompson watched as another massive cargo ship emerged from a hidden hangar. Its holds were filled with rare materials, far more than the Council had demanded. All ships ready for the announcement, Director, her communications officer reported. Thompson nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. Send the signal to Ambassador Walker. Tell him Operation Revelation is ready to begin. In his council chamber, Reed was still confidently discussing how Earth would soon be under their complete control. A junior aide rushed in, interrupting the meeting. Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout Earth's solar system. Reed's expression changed from confusion to shock as dozens of huge ships suddenly appeared on his screens, emerging from hidden locations all around Earth's territory. The game was about to change, and humanity was ready to show its cards. The Council's grand meeting chamber fell silent as Earth's transmission began. The massive holographic display showed Ambassador Walker standing calmly at his podium, surrounded by floating screens showing Earth's newly revealed fleet and facilities. High Counselor Reed's silver face had lost some of its shine. Ambassador Walker, what is the meaning of this display? This, High Counselor, Walker replied with a slight smile, is our counteroffer to the Council's generous request for protection fees. He gestured, and one of the screens expanded to show the lunar quantum tunneling facility in operation. Streams of rare materials flowed through dimensional portals, collecting in massive storage bays. As you can see, Earth doesn't need protection for our resource production. Walker's voice remained perfectly level. In fact, we're prepared to offer something different, open trade, with any world that wishes to participate, at rates 40% lower than current council tariffs. Angry shouts erupted from the council members. Reed slammed his hand on his desk. You dare to challenge the council's authority. This is unprecedented. Actually, Walker continued, pressing a button that displayed a new set of images. We already have trade agreements signed with 15 independent worlds. Worlds that, like us, grew tired of council extortion. The chamber erupted in chaos as council members recognized their own colony worlds among Earth's new trading partners. Small civilizations that had suffered under council demands for centuries were now openly defying them. Meanwhile, aboard Earth's flagship Unity in lunar orbit, Director Thompson watched the transmission while monitoring the quantum array's output. Send the next shipment to the Proxima colonies, she instructed her crew. Let's show everyone exactly how much we can produce. The ship's captain, Robert Steele, nodded as he watched massive cargo vessels jump through quantum tunnels, carrying more resources in one trip than most worlds could produce in a year. Director, he said, the Centaur worlds are requesting immediate trade negotiations. They're offering their advanced AI technology in exchange for our quantum tunneling systems. Back in the council chamber, Walker was still speaking. Earth proposes a new way forward. Instead of extortion, we offer partnership. Instead of threats, we offer opportunity. He pressed another button, and new data filled the screens. Trade projections, economic forecasts, and development plans for dozens of worlds. Our quantum tunneling technology can be shared. Our production methods can be taught. We've already begun establishing trading hubs in neutral space where any civilization can come to trade freely. Reed stood up, his face twisted with rage. This is rebellion. The Council will not stand for. The Council, Walker interrupted firmly, has a choice to make. You can either adapt to the new reality or watch as more worlds join our free trade network. We're not asking for permission, High Counselor. We're extending an invitation. In the shadows of the council chamber, representatives from smaller worlds exchanged meaningful looks. The human offer was everything they had wished for, but never dared to attempt alone. On Earth, the United Nations Assembly watched the transmission with pride. General Roberts turned to his staff and nodded. Launch Phase 3. Show them our production capabilities aren't just for show. Across Earth's solar system, massive factory ships emerged from their hiding places in asteroid belts. Each one was capable of producing advanced technology that most council worlds thought impossible for humans to create. One last thing, Walker added, his smile growing slightly. To demonstrate our commitment to free trade, we're releasing the blueprints for basic quantum tunneling technology to every world in the galaxy, starting now. Reed's face went completely pale as his computer chimed with an incoming data packet. The Council's monopoly on resource extraction was about to end, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. The age of Council extortion was over. The era of human-led free trade had begun. High Counselor Reed's private office was in chaos. Screens flashed with emergency messages from dozens of council worlds as reports flooded in about colonies and member planets signing trade deals with Earth. How many have we lost? Reed demanded, his silver skin now a dull gray from stress. His aide, trembling slightly, handed him another report. 37 minor worlds have officially joined Earth's trade network in the last 6 hours. 15 more are in negotiations. Reed smashed his fist into his desk, leaving a deep dent in the metal. Send the enforcement fleet. Block their trade routes. Sir, the aide said quietly, the enforcement fleet captains are refusing to move. What? Earth offered them personal trade contracts. Their crews can send resources directly to their homeworlds at half our rates. They're staying in port. Meanwhile, aboard the Earth ship Unity, Director Thompson reviewed the latest trade statistics with Ambassador Walker via hologram. The numbers were better than they had expected. "The Council's grip is breaking faster than we predicted," Thompson said, showing Walker the data. "Their own military forces are turning against them. Not with weapons, but with trade deals." Walker nodded, his expression thoughtful. Fear kept them in line for centuries. Now they're seeing another way. He paused as new data appeared on his screen. "Look at this. The Rigel system just opened their jump gates to our merchants. That's the biggest trading hub in the Outer Rim." In the Council's main chamber, emergency alarms flashed as more reports of defecting worlds poured in. Council members argued loudly, pointing fingers and making threats that everyone knew they couldn't enforce. "We must strike now," shouted Councillor Drake, his blue skin dark with anger. "Show these humans what happens to those who defy the Council." "With what ships?" another council member asked bitterly. "Half our fleet is refusing orders, and the other half is too busy protecting our own worlds from revolts." On a small farming world at the edge of Council space, crowds gathered in the streets to watch Earth's first trading ships land. Massive cargo doors opened, revealing mountains of resources that would have cost them years of council taxes to obtain. The planet's governor, who had signed the trade agreement just hours ago, addressed his people. "No more will we bow to council demands. Earth offers us fair trade and the means to help ourselves." Back in Reed's office, the situation was getting worse. His personal computer chimed with another alert, this time from his own homeworld. "No," he whispered, reading the message. "Not them too." His world's ruling council had voted to open trade negotiations with Earth. Their message was clear: adapt or be replaced. On Earth, the United Nations Assembly watched their plan unfold. General Roberts presented the latest intelligence to the gathered leaders. "The Council's authority is collapsing," he reported, "not through violence or warfare, but through simple economics. They can't compete with fair trade." Ambassador Walker's hologram appeared in the chamber. "Phase 4 is ready to begin. Shall we proceed?" The Assembly voted unanimously. Walker smiled and transmitted new orders to Earth's fleet. Across the galaxy, human ships began distributing more than just resources. They carried teaching teams, engineering crews, and construction units. Earth wasn't just trading. They were helping worlds build their own quantum tunneling facilities. In the council chamber, Reed made one last desperate attempt to maintain control. "This is your final warning," he transmitted to Earth. "Stop this at once, or face the consequences." The response he received was simple. A live feed showed 100 more worlds signing Earth's trade agreements, while quantum tunneling facilities were already under construction on 24 planets. Reed slumped in his chair, watching his power crumble. The Council had ruled through fear and extortion for centuries. Now, in just a few days, humanity had destroyed that power with nothing more than fair trade and open cooperation. The galaxy would never be the same. Professor Michael Rogers stood before a massive holographic display in Earth's new galactic trade center, watching thousands of trading routes light up like golden threads across the galaxy map. Each line represented a new connection in humanity's growing network. "The AI is working better than expected," he told Director Thompson, who had just arrived from the lunar facility. "It's matching resources to needs across 2,000 worlds, creating perfect trade routes that benefit everyone." Thompson watched as the AI adjusted trade flows in real time, redirecting ships to where they were needed most. "How many worlds are waiting to join?" 300 more applied just this morning, Rogers replied, smiling. "The Council's old members are practically begging to be part of our network now." In deep space, aboard one of Earth's new trading hubs, Captain Mark Jones supervised as ships from 50 different species docked and exchanged goods. The massive station, shaped like a wheel with 12 spokes, handled more trade in a day than most council ports saw in a month. Another council enforcement ship requesting emergency docking, his first officer reported. "They're low on fuel. The council cut off their supply when they refused orders to attack our trading partners." Jones nodded. "Let them dock. Offer them the same deal as the others, fair trade rates and free passage if they join the network." Meanwhile, on a former council world, local engineers worked alongside human teachers, learning to build their own quantum tunneling facility. The planet's leader watched in amazement as the first portal sparked to life. "We were dependent on council shipments for centuries," she told the human instructor. "Now we can mine resources ourselves, trade freely, and help other worlds do the same." Back on Earth, Ambassador Walker met with the UN Assembly to present the latest statistics. The screens behind him showed massive economic growth across all participating worlds. "The Free Trade Alliance now includes over 60% of known space," he announced. "Our AI system has increased production efficiency by 300%. Poverty rates are dropping on every world in the network." A representative raised his hand. "What about the council worlds that haven't joined yet?" Walker changed the display to show a different map. "Their economies are collapsing. Their people are demanding change. It's only a matter of time." In his increasingly empty council chamber, High Councilor Reed received another resignation. 3 more council members had joined Earth's network, taking their worlds and resources with them. "How did we let this happen?" he asked his remaining aide. "We had absolute control." "That was the problem, sir," the aide replied quietly. "We ruled through control. They lead through cooperation." On a distant mining world, a former council enforcer watched as human ships helped evacuate civilians from a dangerous asteroid field. The council had always ignored their calls for help, demanding they keep mining despite the risks. "These humans are different," he told his crew. "They actually care if we live or die." Professor Rogers worked late into the night, fine-tuning the AI trade system. The holographic galaxy map now showed nearly 2/3 of known space, linked by golden trade routes. "Professor," the AI announced, "I've identified 300 new potential resources that can be extracted safely using quantum tunneling. Sharing data with all network members now." Thompson entered the room with urgent news. "Michael, the Galactic Bank just collapsed. The Council's last economic weapon is gone." Rogers nodded, unsurprised. Their system was built on control and scarcity. It couldn't survive in a galaxy of abundance and free trade. Across known space, more worlds joined the network every hour. Humanity's revolution wasn't won with weapons or wars, but with something far more powerful: the simple idea that everyone deserves a fair chance to prosper. The Council's age of extortion was ending not with a bang, but with the quiet hum of trade ships moving freely through open stars. High Councilor Reed stood in his private command center, surrounded by the last council members still loyal to him. On the screens around them, a small fleet of warships moved into position near Earth's lunar facilities. "If we destroy their quantum tunneling technology," Reed said, his voice hard with desperation, "the other worlds will have no choice but to return to us." His commanders looked uncertain. "Sir, their defenses are nothing compared to our remaining military strength." Reed interrupted. "Launch the attack. Now." In lunar orbit, Captain Lisa Martinez watched the Council fleets approach on Unity's main screen. Her ship, along with 50 others, waited silently in the moon's shadow. "They took the bait," she said to her crew, just like the Admiral predicted. A message flashed on her screen, a private communication from Director Thompson in the lunar facility below. "All personnel evacuated to backup facilities. You're clear to proceed with Protocol 17B." Martinez smiled. They had planned for this moment for years. The Council fleet moved closer, their weapons charging. Reed watched from his command center, anticipating an easy victory. These were his best ships, armed with the Council's most powerful weapons. "Sir," one of his officers called out, "we're detecting energy signatures everywhere." Around the moon, space itself seemed to ripple. Hundreds of quantum tunnels opened, and from each one emerged a heavily armed Earth vessel. The Council fleet found itself surrounded on all sides. "Impossible," Reed whispered. "Their military was nothing. We watched them for years." Martinez opened a channel to all ships. Council vessels, this is Captain Martins of the Earth Defense Fleet. You are outnumbered 20-1. Power down your weapons or face the consequences. In his command center, Reed screamed orders at his fleet. Attack. Destroy their facilities. The Council ships opened fire, but their weapons passed through empty space. The lunar facility they targeted was just a hologram, its real counterpart safely hidden in another dimension. All ships, Martins commanded, demonstrate humanity's real military capability. Earth's ships moved with impossible speed, their quantum drives letting them jump instantly across space. Council weapons couldn't track them. Council shields couldn't stop them. From his flagship, Reed watched in horror as his fleet was disabled ship by ship, not destroyed, but systematically shut down by weapons he had never seen before. Our weapons don't work, his commanders reported. Their quantum fields are disrupting everything. Martinez's voice came through again, calm and professional. Council forces, your ships have been disabled. Your weapons are offline. You have one chance to surrender. In the lunar facility's backup location, Director Thompson and Ambassador Walker watched the battle's end. Should we show them the rest of our fleet? Thompson asked. Walker shook his head. This is enough. Let them wonder what else we might have hidden. On the Council flagship, Reed's commanders were surrendering one by one. His own screen filled with reports of more worlds joining Earth's network, seeing how easily humanity had defeated the Council's best ships. You don't understand, Reed transmitted desperately to Martinez. The Council maintained order. Without us, there will be chaos. No, Martins replied. Without you, there will be freedom. And we're prepared to defend it. She sent him one final image, a view of Earth's full defense fleet emerging from quantum tunnels all across the galaxy. Thousands of ships protecting trade routes and newly independent worlds. Reed sank into his chair, finally understanding. The Council had spent years watching Earth's public military development, never realizing they were seeing only what humanity wanted them to see. They had tried to extort a species that had outfought them at every turn. Now, their last desperate gambit had failed, and the galaxy would know once and for all that humanity's protection was stronger than the Council's threats. As Martinez's ships took the Council fleet into custody, the quantum tunnels rippled once more, revealing just a glimpse of how much humanity had truly been hiding all along. 1 year after the Council's failed attack, Ambassador Walker stood in the newly constructed Galactic Federation Hall on Earth. The massive building, with its crystal walls and quantum-powered environmental systems, represented everything humanity had brought to the galaxy: transparency, innovation, and cooperation. Representatives from over 3,000 worlds filled the chamber. Among them sat former Council members, including a much-changed High Counselor Reed, who now served as an advisor on how to help worlds transition from control-based systems to free trade. The galaxy has changed more in 1 year than it did in the previous 1,000. Walker began his address, not through conquest, not through force, but through a simple idea that every world deserves the chance to prosper. The hall's main display showed real-time statistics from Professor Rogers' iTrade network. Resources flowed freely between worlds, poverty rates were dropping everywhere, and former Council worlds were building their own quantum tunneling facilities. Director Thompson, seated in the front row, smiled as she reviewed the latest reports. The lunar facility that had started it all was now just one of thousands across known space. Every world that wanted the technology had received it, along with training and support. Our success wasn't just about technology, Walker continued. It was about trust. When the Council tried to extort us, we could have responded with violence. Instead, we chose to show the galaxy a better way. Captain Martinez, now Admiral of the Peacekeeping Fleet, watched from her flagship as trading vessels moved safely through formerly dangerous sectors. Her ships didn't need to fight anymore. Their presence alone maintained peace, as everyone had seen what Earth's fleet could do if threatened. The old council believed that power came from controlling resources. Walker said, glancing at Reed, "We proved that real power comes from sharing them, from helping others grow strong alongside us." In the audience, representatives from formerly poor worlds nodded. Their planets had gone from struggling colonies to thriving civilizations, all because humanity had shown them how to help themselves. "But our greatest achievement," Walker continued, "isn't the technology we shared or the trade routes we've built. It's the change in how we all think about our place in the galaxy." The display shifted to show newly established schools, research centers, and cultural exchange programs. Species that had once fought over resources now worked together, sharing knowledge and solving problems that had plagued them for generations. Professor Rogers stood up to present the next phase of the AI trade system. "We're not just trading goods anymore," he explained. "We're trading ideas, cultures, and dreams. Every world brings something unique to our network." In orbit above Earth, the Unity had become a museum ship, visited by millions who wanted to see where the revolution began. Tour guides told the story of how humanity had turned an attempted extortion into an opportunity for galactic change. "1 year ago," Walker said, approaching his conclusion, "the Council tried to force us to pay for protection we didn't need. Today we all protect each other, not through threats or demands, but through cooperation and mutual respect." The chamber erupted in applause as Walker announced the final step. The former Council worlds had voted to officially join the Federation. The last holdouts of the old system had seen that humanity's way worked better. Reed stood up, walking slowly to the podium at Walker's invitation. "I was wrong," he said simply. "We ruled through fear because we thought it was the only way. Humanity showed us that the best way to lead is to help others become strong." As the ceremony ended, Walker looked out at the assembled representatives. The galaxy had changed forever, and it had all started because the Council made one crucial mistake. They tried to extort a species that had learned from humanity's own history that cooperation beats control every time. In the end, humanity's greatest weapon hadn't been their hidden fleet or advanced technology. It had been the simple truth that when you help others succeed, everyone wins.